So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Hey, thanks for watching our live stream. I'm the host, David Krayden. In the meantime, have a look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need the resolve to resist. Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden, and I'm broadcasting to you live from the Ottawa area, your nation's capital. We come back, we have lots to talk about today. Is this going to be Freedom Week for the Freedom Convoy and for Universal Ostrich Farms? Or are we going to take another stride backwards into the pit of tyranny? I'll be right back.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to...
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need the resolve to resist.
We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Do it live. No, I love watching that. So, what do I mean by Freedom Week? Some of you, I'm sure, are wondering what I mean by that. Well, tomorrow, of course, I'll be in court with Tamara Lich and Barber to see what the sentencing is going to be for these two freedom fighters. This has been fully 2 years and a month. 2 years and a month since this trial began, and they're awaiting sentencing tomorrow. If the judge rules with what the Crown is asking for, Barber could be in jail for 8 years and Tamara Lich for 7. I hope and pray that's not going to happen. I hope and pray, my gut feeling, that it's going to be a lot less than that. And I don't want to say anything else right now that's going to in any way hamper or impair the sentencing from happening in a fair and honest manner. So, you know where my heart is. I'd like to see them walk because I think they did nothing wrong except peacefully protest. And I think that should be the sentence. There should be no jail time. There should be, at the very, very least, a suspended sentence, or what the defense is calling for, which is even less than that. And I think that would be a happy conclusion to this lawfare that these people have gone through. I'm trying to do a quick interview with Tamara this afternoon. If I do, I'll put that on later. She's on the road right now. And of course, I've been texting and asking her, could we do something to tie in what's happening right now at the Universal Ostrich Farms to what you did with the Freedom Convoy. And I think this is why I'm calling it Freedom Week. We're either going to see a resolution to the ostrich farm crisis in favor of Universal Ostrich Farms. I think the government's going to stand down because they have made complete asses of themselves. It's been a public relations fiasco for the CFIA, which I think most Canadians now know. You cannot trust them. They're not in this for the health and safety of the public or animals. They're in this to kill animals. And clearly, Katie Pasitney has the goods on them at her farm. And we'll be showing some of that. So without further ado, I want to share my ex with you because there's some really important stuff on here. And I think it's extremely important that we do this. All right. Here we are. Now this is absolutely incredible. Paul McKinnon, who is the president of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and a former Canadian Border Security Agency executive. He's the epitome of the managerial class. And thank you to Dea Civitas for this. He is the epitome of the managerial class bureaucrat. He knows exactly how to coordinate the gears of government to crush freedom. From 2019 to 2021, he enforced COVID border policies that trapped 6 million unvaccinated Canadians, banning them from airports and requiring vaccine proof for re-entry, effectively locking them in or locking them out of their own country unless they complied with mandated injections. This proven ability to crush resistance through bureaucratic coordination makes McKinnon the ideal leader to deploy state power against private property, orchestrating the destruction of 400 healthy ostriches, or somewhat less than that, with ruthless efficiency while steamrolling over any opposition. This is absolutely astounding what has gone on here. And I want to make sure I've got everything I wanted up here. And yeah, this is incredible here. I want to make sure, had to refresh to get this. Paul McKinnon, president of Canadian Food Inspection Agency, bureaucrat potentially responsible for closing the border to unvaxxed truckers. There it all is. So no wonder this guy wants to shut down this farm. No wonder he doesn't want ostriches to demonstrate herd immunity. He didn't want people to demonstrate that either. Yeah, there he is. Absolutely astounding. Yeah, we showed you that. Thank you, Mark Nixon, for putting this up, because I've been a little rough on the Conservatives of late, specifically Pierre Poilievre, for not fighting harder against the censorship bills. Well, thank you for this. Kevin Lamoureux.
The member opposite tries to say, you have government, the Liberal Party. We're going to take away your internet. We're going to take away your cell phones. We're going to deny you the opportunity to do your banking. And they come up with this whole conspiracy wearing well, not necessarily wearing a tin hat, but this conspiracy theory, how big government's going to take everything away when the legislation is all about protecting Canadians, protecting the economy. Does the member see any merit in having cybersecurity legislation that would ensure that the interests of Canadians is being served, such as our economy, economic transitions that take place every day by the thousands? Does he not see the merit for protecting that?
The honourable member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Mr. Speaker, I wish this was a conspiracy. I wish the Liberals had the shame to keep this secret. It's open, it's in the bill. Multiple civil society groups have written letters to them asking them to change this, sounding the alarm. And when he says he thinks that I think it's a conspiracy that they might freeze bank accounts, they already did that, and the federal court told them that was a violation of charter rights, and they have no response to that. I'm asking them, apologize. If you're stand up, you have a lot to say. Now would be a terrific time to apologize for violating our charter rights in the last parliament. I'm serious. I don't know why you're laughing. Excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
Exactly. What are they laughing about? What are they laughing about? And by the way, this is interesting from the food professor. Look at the price jump in beef tipped sirloin cuts, 44%, coffee, 32%. And they keep telling you inflation is no problem, man. It's like 5%, per annum, except on items that you really require. Let's watch a bit of this. Katie Pasitney, spokeswoman for the Universal Ostrich Farms, has got the goods on the CFIA. Let's listen to this. See, this what's happening here is CFIA is supposedly delivering electrolytes to this ostrich, but they're there for about 30 seconds. And it's almost like they're just pretending to do it. But this organization must be held accountable for its actions. Must be held accountable.
I'm probably going to lose sight of them, guys. Just apologize for this, but I got to move my camera just a tad to the area that they're supposed to be going to, just to see if I can see them. So just, sorry about that, guys. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? They are right in there. So it looks like the bag, that's the bag that they're holding. And the other truck with the binoculars, he took off, so he's going to go, because he can see a lot better than I can. So he's going to go see if he can get a different angle. So they should be popping out here somewhere. Like the angle that I'm at, I can only see so much, but the other truck with the binoculars took off down a little further.
All right, that arrow indicating where the other truck
You
is.
can just see them there. I can't see it, but they're over where they're supposed to be in the vicinity. Oompa loompa doopity doo. So that's where they're supposed to be. So it looks like they did bring the electrolytes over. Dave has not been back in the pen ever since that day they let him in. Like I said, guys, please be nice when people ask questions. People are just coming on for the first time. You know, they're trying to understand what's going on too. Some of you guys have been following this for the last 9 months. Some are just popping on today to know what's happening. So let's be nice to them, right? To show them that, you know, that we're not all evil and we're not radical people. And they could be watching our lives too, figuring, hey, we have to do it, right? Hey,
I'm just going to speed ahead here.
oh, I see them. That was pretty quick. Well, they're just dumping it. Mr. Marshmallows. There you are.
So they're there for such a short period of time. It's embarrassing, and so you know there's a lot of good things happening at the farm, and there's this is real reconciliation, not the kind Justin Trudeau invented. And thank you, Viva Fry, for continuing to cover the story in the wonderful way you've been doing. And here's
Could you go ahead and
Katie
give
on
us an
Jason
update from
Levine's show
today? Because you mentioned some events happened. You had to speak to the liaison, and you also video last night came out about one of the birds that had a tendon issue and not looking so well right now.
Yeah. So our hen, her name is Spirit. And there's been, there's so much speculation. People are like, did you just name her Spirit? We're like, no, her name is actually Spirit. And we just healed her. So she went through about a month of recovery a couple months ago. And she was walking and doing great. And she was always the first one at the feed pails and pecking to say hello. And the RCMP drones came in, and again, with no knowledge of the animal and how the ostriches act, they flew their drones very low over our farm, putting all of our ostriches into a panic. And when that happened, we were screaming at them from inside the pens to please stop. And they had all of our birds hitting fences. Over the fence twice. And so taken care of, we had given her anti-inflammatories, and while we were in the pens with her. But after we were arrested and we were served 3 search warrants, and they took full custody of our animals and custody over the property, they were not willing to communicate with us. So that hen never got anti-inflammatories or her regular treatment for about 2 to 3 days. We had to go through police liaisons. The police liaisons would then talk to the RCMP, and the RCMP, they were relaying information to Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is on site. So they were not even willing to just talk to us at the fence. And again, that's what we said. It's a very cowardly act, because why would you not come talk to us and let us know what's happening with her, take our advice of our treatment and what she needed. And so what had happened was she went about 2 to 3 days with no treatment. And then we got told that the only way we could communicate with Canadian Food Inspection Agency was by email. So we started emails. Then we told them that she needed to be given electrolytes. And those electrolytes were very, very critical to her survival because she was not doing well. When we were asking the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for proof of her health and how she was doing, they were not being transparent. They wouldn't show us a video. They wouldn't show us a picture. And we even just begged, please just let us go in, just check on her. We don't need phones. We don't need anything in there. Just let us go do our job. And they wouldn't let us in there. So they kept telling us that they were taking these electrolytes to her. And we questioned whether or not they were giving them to her. So we started holding up signs, and we made them public, that we were asking them of proof of her health and where these electrolytes were going, and just to show us to be transparent with us. And then we received an email that she was not doing well and she was at the end of her life. Then to come out that we have amazing supporters here that are just all being independent journalists and taking pictures and video footage and taking it upon themselves to watch them, hold them accountable for what they're doing. And in doing so, we caught footage that they've been taking those electrolytes, and they went to an area where the hen wasn't even in, and they were going behind a bush, and they were dumping out the electrolytes for our hen, and they weren't tubing her. They were not giving her these electrolytes. Yesterday, somebody went in with a drone, which they have a no-fly zone right now. And that drone captured an image of Spirit at her last part of her life, throwing her head back and dying. And she was alone. And that was a very, very, very heartbreaking moment for us as a family, knowing that she was right there in 100, 200 feet away. We could have just walked through that police tape, and she didn't need to die alone, which we would have never let her. And again, they got caught. So they're caught red-handed. She passed away, and the world knows. The world knows that they've lied. The world knows that they are not being humane out there. They're not performing humane actions. And there's animal cruelty going on out there with these animals while we have an interim stay order. And we wait to hear from the Supreme Court.
So the question I have is, how long has the CFI been like this? And this is why I think we need to talk to Jerry Ritz, who has been on the show several times, former agriculture minister under the Stephen Harper conservative government. I'd like to know if the CFIA had carte blanche to do whatever the hell it wants, ignore the law, violate the law, and think it can get away with it. Was that the case under the Harper administration? I'd like to know. And so I'm going to send out if events don't overtake things this week, I'm going to send out a request to Jerry, who was a good friend when I worked in the Hill, and I think probably one of the finest ag ministers because he understood agriculture very well. And so that's where we are. I invite you to watch yesterday's episode on Shame on You, CFIA. And Katie might be able to join us later today. I wanted to get her on the show this morning, but she is exhausted. She's up late doing not just interviews, but handling a multitude of issues at the same time. And it's 7 o'clock her time in BC. It's a little early at times, but she has gotten up so many times when I've asked her to come on the show. And it's, we'll continue to do that. And I want to let's go back. And there is just so much going on here. And I want to show this clip as well.
Spirit has passed away. And we knew that. We knew that last night. But it went from sadness, and I think now today's a lot of anger, but it's frustration, I think, more than anything. The only way we found out she was not being cared for, we were actually getting results, was when we were holding up signs and making the public aware of what we were asking for, putting them on notice, that everybody knew what we were expecting of them to give her electrolytes. And we had some, because of you, all again, here, holding them accountable, which they've never been held accountable before. We actually have footage that those electrolytes that they were going in there, the police liaisons were taking it to them, doing their job, and those electrolytes they weren't even near the bird, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency walked behind a bush and dumped out our electrolytes. So in Spirit's name today, I would like to call out the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and there is a new name for them today, and that is the Canadian Animal Cruelty Organization. Right, until they fix this and they come forward, this is a cowardly act, and this is something that easily could have been solved, and it could have been just one of our family going in, treating her and walking out. We didn't need a phone, we didn't need anything, we just needed to have hands on her, loving her, and treating her like she should have been, not being lied to. So today, we did write something, hiding behind the line of what the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's actions are meaning for Canada. When the Canadian Food Inspection Agency hides behind RCMP officers and police tape, it isn't just about biosecurity, it's about hiding the truth. It's about shielding cruelty from all of the public's eyes while animals are suffering and dying behind walls of uniforms meant to protect justice, not conceal the injustice that's happening here at Universal Ostrich Farms. What kind of country are we becoming when government agents can commit acts of cruelty under police protection? While farmers and our families and our citizens were pushed back, silenced, and criminalized for saving life. We were arrested, and we were trying to do the right thing, and that was to feed our animals. We expect the RCMP and that there will be follow-up charges on the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and those responsible. They should be arrested just like we were. When an animal lays dying alone, and her head was thrown back in pain, the people, our family, who love her.
We'll go back to that in a minute, but you can see there's still a sizable number of supporters on the farm. And it's interesting that as soon as Katie revealed they had video that apparently shows the CFIA just dumping these electrolytes on the ground and not even putting them near the hen that was suffering. Suddenly, there was more news about the nearby farms, and so I see a supposed supporter attacking a woman. Now, I've watched some of the video. I'm not going to show it to you because I've watched it, and I'm saying, I don't know if this guy is the same guy they arrested or not because he's walking around with a jerry can. You can't see his face. He looks like an Antifa guy. Just because you're on the farm, and I said this to Katie yesterday, just because you're on the farm hanging out with everybody, and there's a communal atmosphere there of goodwill. Everybody's working together. It's a feel-good atmosphere, despite the fact that this could be headed towards a very dark conclusion. It's not like people are vetted. It's not like you can't get in without your membership card. It's not like you need ID to get in. So somebody might be infiltrating this group. I wouldn't doubt for a minute. I don't believe for a minute that anybody who supports Katie and her farm would for a minute want to endanger the cause by physically attacking anybody. I don't believe that's a supporter at all. And I'm not even going to cover the story anymore because the story is that Katie has got the goods on the CFIA and it's time to charge the CFIA. It's time to admit this organization is off the rails. Let's watch a bit more of the interview.
We're forbidden to comfort her. That is not protection. That is inhumanity in uniform. This isn't just about ostriches. It's about truth versus control, compassion versus compliance, and the soul of a nation that once stood for integrity, decency, and freedom. If the CFIA can hide behind armed officers to cover their fear of the accountability that they need to be held accountable for, then Canada is facing something far darker than a disease outbreak. We are facing a moral outbreak. One where compassion is quarantined and cruelty is being sanctioned. We must rise up and not in violence, and we've made that clear for months. There is no guns, there is no war here. There is a war, but it is not one that we are taking action in violence, in anger. We are doing this in truth, unity, and courage by every one of us that stand here today and across the world. The world is watching, and the world's going to continue to watch what the Canadian Food Inspection Agency does here. Rise up for transparency. I say rise up Canada all the time. Rise up for the voiceless. Rise up for every farmer who could be next. Rise up for Canada, where protecting life matters more than protecting an agency's reputation that they're trying to hide. Because when truth has to hide behind a badge, it's not the criminals that are sick, it's the system. Yep. And so today, I call out the Canadian Food Inspection Agency as well, to be put on notice. You have nowhere to hide. The world is watching you. Everybody here is watching you. And we're watching you in peace. And we're watching you to hold you accountable, which you've never been held accountable before.
Very true. They have not been held accountable. They are being held accountable right now. And like I said, we need Pierre Poilievre to become personally involved in this. He's allowing his members of parliament to speak out, including the MP who represents the Edgewood, British Columbia area, Scott Anderson. And we'll go to his petition, which I think is, well, let's just say it illustrates at least there is some support in the Conservative Party, in the official opposition, to support this. And let's have a look at this. I was just notified that this just went up on my X. Sign the petition and then make sure to validate in your email so they include your name. Link below to the petition. I invite all of you to do this. Sign the petition to save the ostriches. And do you think this means nothing? It's only because we're reporting this issue and other people are reporting it that the world is watching. And I hope we can get Katie on Redacted today. I sent a note out to Clayton this morning to say, please, if there's any time or opportunity, can you get Katie on the show today? Because she'd like to talk about the animal cruelty and about this video and about what might happen today or tomorrow. I'm hoping and praying that this is Freedom Week, that this turns out to be Freedom Week. And I think, that is our best bet. Our best bet is that this turns out to be Freedom Week. And that's exactly what we need to hope and pray for right now. Because I've been covering the story since April. I had Katie on the show, I think May the 2nd. I was looking back at all the interviews we've done. And I've really, really come to admire and have great affection for Katie, for what she's doing, the courage she has. And we've become very close friends in the past 6 months. And I support what she's doing because I think this is about all of our freedom. I've said that very closely. I want to thank the media that have been there throughout this time, who just didn't latch on to the story at the last minute. I think of David Freiheit, Viva Fry. He's done some great work on this file. I think Rebel News, Drea Humphrey, wonderful work on this file. You've been there and you're on the scene. Probably where I should be. But I've got to cover court tomorrow in Ottawa. You can't be in two places at two times. And this is why I'm encouraging everybody who's doing the story. This is not about being territorial. This is not anybody's one story. The story belongs to all of us, belongs to all Canadians who love freedom. And that's why, even if you're late in coming to it, come to it this week. All of these broadcasters, these so-called independent news broadcasters, who sometimes are just propagandists, go out and cover this story. We need everybody in the independent media. And thank you for Redacted, for Clayton and Natalie Morris, who give a damn about freedom in Canada and who know we're losing it all. Thank you, Clayton and Natalie, for covering the story like you have. You've had Katie on several times. You have me on generally once a week, and I can talk about this as being one of the crucial elements of Canadian news. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Chris Dacey, for going out there and covering it. And I'll be in touch with you later, Chris. Maybe we can get you on the show. And thank you for the work you're doing. Thanks for going out, traveling out, and caring enough about the issue. And if I've missed anybody right now, my apologies. But even Ezra Levant, my old friend and colleague Ezra Levant was on scene last Friday because he's concerned about this. And his publication, his media outlet, Rebel News, has done some outstanding reporting on this issue. Now, I got a note yesterday, and I have to raise it. I'm not going to mention any names. Somebody said they're unsubscribing to my station because I'm constantly attacking Pierre Poilievre. And I said, look, I attack Pierre Poilievre when it's necessary. I praise Pierre Poilievre when that's necessary and when that's justified. But if you want propaganda, go to the Conservative Party of Canada website, and you'll never hear any word of criticism. But sometimes you have to criticize. And to bring, what Ezra Levant said years ago to me, I've never forgotten this. If we don't push from the right as journalists, as reporters, politicians will inevitably drift towards the left, because they'll be sucked up by the mainstream media like CBC, CTV, and the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star. They'll be sucked into that vortex. If we don't push from the right and insist upon accuracy and insist upon honesty and insist upon principled conservatism, we'll lose it. That's why. And I've told you, I worked in Parliament Hill for Conservative MPs. I've always supported the Conservative Party in so many ways. But I don't work for the Conservative Party. I work for you. I work for independent journalism. I work for truth. And that's why I'll continue to do what I do. And anybody who says I'm not a patriot because I don't spew propaganda, let me tell you, I wore a uniform for over 12 years. I served overseas. And don't tell me about patriotism. I'll leave it at that. But here's some good news about Pierre Poilievre, and I'm going to put this on because don't tell me I don't congratulate Pierre Poilievre when he's doing the right thing.
Thank you very much, Adrian. We want you and your force to have fewer return customers. And I can say as a father and a husband, nothing makes me more angry or anxious than thinking of these rampant, repeat criminals who are out on our streets again and again because of liberal bail, liberal house arrest, and other liberal laws that threaten the safety of our families. And nowhere is that more true than here in the Peel region, where crime, despite the heroic efforts of the best police anywhere in the world, is raging out of control. I want to thank a few people at the outset. Obviously, Adrian, President, and thank you, through you, to all your incredible and courageous members. We have Alexa Barkley, a victim of crime. Does Alexa want to say a few words right now? Why don't we jump into it, to your remarks, and then I'll go on after that.
That'd be great. Okay. Thank you very much. So my name is Alexa Barkley. I am a survivor of sexual assault who's been through the criminal justice system twice. That experience was so incredibly traumatic that I've actually turned my life to advocacy to try to prevent others from having to go through the same process that I did. Part of my work is with End Violence Everywhere. I also co-founded an organization called Survivor Safety Matters, where we strive to protect people's personal records, specifically in sexual assault cases. I think it's important for everyone to understand what survivors are going through in relation to bail. Intimate partner violence survivors specifically, statistics prove, and I see it every day in my work, that instances of assaults against intimate partners tend to escalate over time. And when we have a system that is telling the perpetrator that there are no consequences, you'll be home by Monday, it is terrifying for those victims. Many of them come to us looking for support and safety, and I really don't know what to tell them at this point. So I'm hoping this fall, since it seems that parties on both sides of the aisles are discussing bail, that we'll be able to make some change. And I have been encouraged by the fact that the victims' voices are being included in that conversation. So thank you.
Thank you for your courageous voice. Thank you also to MP Amarjeet Gill, who represents Brampton and who's made crime fighting his top priority on Parliament Hill since he was elected on a mandate to scrap Liberal bail. We also have City Councillor Sue McFadden, former Conservative candidate, who told me today the -- issue she's hearing about in Mississauga is crime because of Liberal bail. We have police officer Naran Janisan, who is also a Conservative candidate. He is fighting crime every day. We have Flo and her husband here, whose families have been the victims of horrific crimes and loss that they can tell you about if you want to ask them. Their story is really heart-wrenching. We have the Faruqi family represented here. Of course, Mr. Faruqi lost his life defending his family. He came out when multiple home invaders were in his home, and he wanted to protect his little children, and he was mercilessly killed by criminals who have yet to be found. And I suspect when they are eventually arrested, we will learn that they too were probably out on Liberal bail. So we're here today because tomorrow is a very big day on Parliament Hill. There will be a critical vote on whether to scrap Liberal bail. MP Arpan Canada, who's simultaneously holding an anti-crime event today in Surrey, has put forward a bill that will reverse the Liberal bail reforms that have unleashed this chaos. Just a quick history of how we got here. The Liberals introduced a bill called C-75, which requires judges to release offenders at, quote, the earliest opportunity under, quote, the least onerous conditions. the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Tomorrow we will vote on repealing that rule so that judges can keep dangerous people behind bars after they are newly arrested.
So how do you think the Liberals are going to vote on this one? Do you think they'll actually say, maybe we were wrong? Maybe we shouldn't be so lenient on criminals in this country. So I will applaud Pierre Poilievre and the official opposition for introducing this today in the House of Commons. I would also like to see him talk about what's going on at the ostrich farm. I would like to see some concern about what's happening tomorrow at the provincial court in Ottawa on Elgin Street. But I applaud him for what he's doing here, and I want everybody to take note of that. So what am I saying? What's at stake this week? Well, I think if the federal government does not seek a political solution, and one is not coming, and one does not come from the Supreme Court, Supreme Court can still say, we're going to hear the case, and then the pressure's off. It's millions of dollars are being spent to suppress this farm, to threaten these farmers. So it's not going to last much longer. I think we're going to have a decision from the Supreme Court very, very shortly. However, before that, we could have a political solution, and Mark Carney at any time can direct his ag minister, Heath MacDonald, to change gears, to just say, okay, these birds are healthy, or at least we're going to test the birds because we look like idiots because we have refused to test the birds. And we're just saying they were sick 9 months ago, so they must still be sick today, even though clearly anybody who's observed the situation at the farm can tell you these birds are no longer sick, unless they're being made sick by the CFIA. So that's a political solution. It can happen like that. In the blink of an eye, the ag minister can tell the CFIA to stand down, get off the farm, and let those birds live. It's that simple. A political solution can happen today. Let's hope and pray for that. Because I don't want to see these people at the farm go through any more of this anguish, of this torture that they're going through, wondering whether they're going to lose their farm, their livelihood, their livestock because of an insane, irrational, unscientific policy. And I'm going to keep saying that. It is. There's nothing scientific about what the CFIA is trying to do to these honest, hardworking farmers. And the mainstream media, shame on you too for trying to focus on extraneous details, on sidebar stories that have nothing to do with the issue here. The issue is whether the CFIA has any ground to stand on, or any leg to stand on. That's the issue, or whether they're right or whether they're wrong. That is the issue, not whether somebody was attacked by somebody who may or may not have been a supporter. If that in fact occurred, of course, that's terrible. But as Katie has said over and over again, they are for a peaceful solution to this. They have told their supporters, do not threaten or harass businesses or nearby farms or anybody. Do not do anything that is not in the spirit and the essence of peaceful protest or peaceful opposition to what's going on from the CFIA. That's been clear from day one. And that's what the mainstream media needs to focus on. Hold the CFIA to account. Hold this federal government to account. As I said, what's going on at the same time? I had Jeff Rath on yesterday to talk about how Alberta independence is increasingly popular. Why? Because the federal government's got a gun grab going on. They're taking away weapons. They're taking away firearms from farmers. not from the criminals in Toronto, but from farmers. They've got 4 censorship bills going through Parliament right now, 4 of them. And this is a government that is talking about digital identity as well. It's all a globalist agenda. You know it, and I know it. The Canadian people know it. This is a globalist agenda that Mark Carney is implementing on behalf of his real political masters. And that's what's going on here. And this is why this farm continues to be targeted, because it refuses to bow to the narrative of the World Health Organization. And that's what the CFIA is tied to the hip with. This is why they have a stamping out policy that makes absolutely no sense after 9 months. If it made any sense at all after 72 hours, it makes no sense at all after 9 months. And this is why we're fighting back. This is why we're pushing back. Thanks for your time and your support today. Tomorrow we'll be in court. I might try to get a show on early in the morning if I get a couple of interviews this afternoon. But we'll be reporting to you as soon as I can about the results of the sentencing hearing at the Ottawa Provincial Court. And we're going to find out just where this country is headed tomorrow. Thank you for watching today. God bless this country. Godspeed to all of you. I'll be back again. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. Thank you for watching Stand On.